So, uh, have you ever been at a party or maybe like a networking event and you meet a total stranger and within like 2 seconds you just instantly click?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time.
Right. You feel like you've known them for years. Or, on the flip side, you take an immediate, intense dislike to someone for like absolutely no logical reason.
Yeah, they haven't even finished saying hello, and your brain is just screaming, nope, get me out of here.
Exactly. And so today on the deep dive, we're looking at exactly what is happening in that 2-second window.
Mm.
Because it turns out you aren't the one making that choice.
No, you really are. And we usually write those moments off as intuition.
Yeah.
Or just good vibes.
Right. We give ourselves a lot of credit for having these great instincts.
We do. But the research we're unpacking today points to a much more jarring reality.
Okay, I'm bracing myself.
So the massive hidden part of our minds, the subconscious, is basically constantly hijacking our social interactions. I mean, it's making snap judgments based on ingrained stereotypes, physically altering our body language to mirror strangers, and just generally dictating our behavior before we've even formulated a single conscious thought.
Which is wild to think about. I mean, our mission today is really to figure out, is our subconscious actually controlling our lives?
That is the big question.
Because we all know that classic iceberg analogy, right? Like going back to Freud and Virginia Satir.
Right, where the conscious mind is just the tiny tip poking out of the water.
Yeah, and the massive underwater structure is the subconscious, like doing 95 to 99% of the work.
Exactly.
And we all know Daniel Kahneman's System 1 and System 2 framework, but looking at it through the lens of pure biological energy conservation completely changes the picture for me.
It really does, because I think most of us walk around feeling like we're in the driver's seat of our own lives.
Totally. I definitely do.
But that sensation of control is largely an illusion.
Wait, an illusion? Really?
Yeah. I mean, to understand why the subconscious has so much power, you have to look at the sheer mathematics of daily life.
Yeah.
The average person makes roughly 30,000 decisions a day.
30,000. That is insane.
It is. And if you had to use your slow, analytical, conscious mind, Kahneman's System 2, to process every single one of those decisions, you would literally starve your body of energy.
Wow. Just from thinking.
Just from thinking, because the brain already consumes about 20% of our daily caloric intake.
And it's only, what, like 2% of our body weight?
Exactly. So conscious, deliberate thought is incredibly metabolically expensive.
So it's not just that the subconscious is faster. It's that we literally, biologically, cannot afford to be conscious of everything.
Precisely. System 1, which is the subconscious autopilot, operates up to 1,000,000 times faster than conscious thought.
1,000,000.
1,000,000, and it does so with almost zero metabolic strain. It handles the tying of your shoes, the regulation of your breathing, and even like the micro adjustments in your tone of voice.
So it's just running in the background constantly.
Yep. It relies on deep-seated heuristics, past experiences, and evolutionary instincts to just keep you moving without collapsing from mental exhaustion.
I mean, it sounds like the conscious mind thinks it's the CEO of the company, but it's really just a guy sitting in a massive self-driving car, like occasionally touching the steering wheel and pretending he's driving.
That is a perfect analogy.
Which brings up the philosophical elephant in the room here.
I had a feeling we'd get here.
Right. If the subconscious is making up to 99% of my choices just to save calories, is free will mostly just an illusion?
Well, the researchers and the sources we reviewed wrestle with this constantly. The data suggests that free will isn't an absolute illusion, but its role is vastly overstated by our egos.
Okay, so what is actually happening then?
What typically happens is that your automatic System 1 makes a lightning-fast decision based on a survival instinct or, a hidden bias.
Right.
And then, a fraction of a second later, your conscious System 2 swoops in to invent a logical-sounding narrative to rationalize what just happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You feel like you made a choice, but neurologically, your conscious mind is basically just acting as the PR department for a decision your subconscious already finalized.
The PR department.
Yeah.
I love that, but it's also terrifying. I mean, I can accept that for things like tying my shoes or picking a route to work.
The low-stakes stuff.
Right. But when we apply that speed over accuracy survival mechanism to how we judge other human beings, the implications get pretty dark.
They really do.
Because the subconscious relies on, like, minimal data to make those instant expectations, right?
It relies on highly superficial data. When you look at someone new, System 1 instantly scans their race, their sex, their age, their clothing.
Just immediately.
Immediately. And then it accesses a vast, deeply ingrained network of associations and stereotypes, and it instantly feeds you an emotion. It tells you how to feel about them before they've even introduced themselves.
You know, there was a voting study in the research stack that completely changed how I view the democratic process.
Oh, the face study, yes.
Yeah. Researchers showed mock voters these split-second fleeting photos of competing politicians' faces. We're talking maybe 100 milliseconds.
Less time than it takes to blink.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they asked the participants to rate the politicians on, like, competence based solely on that millisecond flash.
And the results were just staggering.
They predicted actual elections, right?
Yes. Those snap judgments made by people who knew absolutely nothing about the candidate's policies or track records successfully predicted the outcome of 2 out of 3 actual elections.
That is, I mean, how do we know that's not just a coincidence? What is the subconscious actually seeing in 100 milliseconds that makes it scream competent?
Well, it's an evolutionary heuristic. The subconscious is looking for specific facial structures.
Like what?
Often things like facial symmetry, jawline shape, or even just the distance between the eyes, things that are primal ancestors associated with strength or dominance or trustworthiness.
So millions of people are walking into voting booths, reading through pamphlets, using all that slow, effortful System 2 logic to pick a candidate.
But ultimately, for a massive percentage of the population, their subconscious had already cast the vote the moment they saw the candidate's face.
And the conscious mind just found a policy reason to justify the gut reaction. The PR department at work.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the implicit association test, or the IAT.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting.
And uncomfortable. This was the part of the research that felt the most uncomfortable for me because it forces you to confront the biases filed away in that associative network.
It does. It really holds up a mirror.
Can you explain the mechanism behind the button trick? Because it's brilliantly simple, but neurologically profound.
Sure. So the IAT measures how tightly 2 concepts are wired together in your brain. The subject sits at a computer and is asked to press the left button when they see a word associated with good.
Like puppy or joy.
Right. And the right button for words associated with bad, like spider or pain.
Okay, simple enough.
Then they're asked to categorize faces. Left button for white faces, right button for black faces.
So you're establishing 2 separate sorting tasks.
Yes. But then the researchers merge them. They tell the participant, okay, press the left button if the image is a good word, OR, a white face, and press the right button if it's a bad word, OR, a black face.
Right.
And after a while, they flip the rules. Now the left button is for good words or are black faces.
And the response times slow down significantly for a lot of people when the buttons are configured for good and black faces.
They do.
I mean, I've taken one of these tests before, and the cognitive friction is genuinely frustrating. Like, you feel your finger hesitate, even if you really don't want it to. Why does that happen at a neural level?
That hesitation is the literal time it takes for your prefrontal cortex, your conscious system 2, to actively suppress an automatic pathway.
Wow, so it's a physical delay.
Exactly, because in many societies, media and cultural conditioning have repeatedly paired minority faces with negative concepts. Those neurons have fired together so often that they've wired together into a superhighway.
So the subconscious just takes the easiest route.
Yes. Even participants who consciously value equality, who genuinely see themselves as fair and unbiased, they experience this delay. Their subconscious wants to take the superhighway, and their conscious mind has to hit the brakes and force a detour.
That's wild.
It reveals hidden automatic biases that run completely counter to their conscious beliefs.
And the scary part is that these hidden cues don't just dictate how we judge others. The environment can use those same shortcuts to dictate how we perform ourselves.
You're talking about stereotype threat.
Yeah. The research shows that just reminding someone of a stereotype alters their actual cognitive ability.
The study involving Asian American preschool girls taking a math test is probably one of the most elegant demonstrations of this.
Break that one down for us.
So, researchers had the girls color pictures before the math test. For one group, the pictures subtly reminded the girls of their Asian heritage.
Okay.
That group performed better than average because it triggered the cultural stereotype associating Asian identity with math proficiency.
But there's another group, right?
Right. For the other group of girls, the picture subtly reminded them of their gender, and their performance dropped significantly.
Because it triggered the harmful stereotype that girls aren't good at math.
Exactly.
But mechanically, how does a colored picture make a child worse at math in real time? Like in that exact moment?
It's an issue of cognitive load. When the subconscious registers a negative stereotype about your identity, it triggers a low-level threat response. And that anxiety eats up your working memory.
Oh, so your brain is just distracted.
Yeah, your brain is suddenly spending biological energy worrying about confirming the stereotype, which leaves less computational power available for the actual math problems.
So the subconscious absorbed the environmental cue and literally altered their cognitive capacity.
Yes, exactly.
You know, when I meet a stranger and I feel a really strong gut instinct about them, I usually trust it. But after reading this, I have to ask, is that actual intuition protecting me from subtle microexpressions of danger? Or is it just my subconscious applying a lazy, potentially harmful stereotype because it wants to save energy?
Well, the tricky part is it can absolutely be both, and that ambiguity is the danger.
Right.
The subconscious is built to keep you safe from threats, so sometimes that gut feeling is a valid warning based on subtle cues, like a slight tightening of the jaw or a shift in eye contact that your conscious mind totally missed. But very often, it is just a lazy heuristic. The system doesn't care about fairness at all. It only cares about speed.
Speed over accuracy.
Yeah.
And this problem doesn't just stay inside our heads, though. It actually hijacks our muscles. Like the subconscious will physically alter our bodies to change how we interact with a stranger.
Oh, you're referring to the chameleon effect.
Yes. This blew my mind.
It is fascinating. It's our natural unconscious tendency to physically mimic the postures, gestures, and facial expressions of the people we are interacting with.
So if I'm at a networking event talking to someone and they shift their weight and cross their legs,
A few seconds later, you will likely cross yours. If they scratch their chin, you will unconsciously do the same.
it's like our brains have invisible Bluetooth, just constantly pinging the devices around us, trying to sync up and pair with the people in the room without us ever hitting the connect button.
That's a great way to put it.
But exactly what evolutionary purpose does that serve? Because it seems like an unnecessary waste of energy for a system that's supposedly trying to conserve it.
Well, the energy spent on mirroring is an investment in social survival.
Social survival.
Yeah. Long before early humans developed complex language, we needed a way to signal empathy and build cooperation. Mirroring acts as an automatic social glue.
I see.
It relies on mirror neurons in the brain to signal to the other person, hey, I am like you, we are in sync, you are safe with me.
So it's basically building trust without words.
Exactly. We see this in infants, where mimicry is foundational for learning language and social cues. And in adults, it kicks in automatically to reduce friction in the tribe. Because when you are out of sync physically, the brain perceives a potential threat.
There's a bizarre long-term side effect to this Bluetooth syncing, though. Robert Sajonk's research showed that couples who have been together for decades actually start to physically resemble each other.
Yes.
Not just in how they dress, but their actual facial features become more similar. How is that even possible?
It's a physiological manifestation of empathy, because these couples have been unconsciously mirroring each other's microexpressions, like their smiles and frowns, for 30 or 40 years.
Wow.
The muscles and fascia in their faces develop and tone in identical ways. They have quite literally shared the same emotional musculature.
That is oddly romantic, but also kind of creepy. So moving together physically binds us together psychologically.
Yeah.
You see that on a macro level with behavioral synchrony too, like armies marching in step, or a congregation singing a hymn together.
Exactly. The physical syncing releases endorphins and oxytocin, instantly increasing cooperation among total strangers.
It does. But as powerful as that is, the subconscious takes its cues from more than just other people. It is constantly scanning the inanimate physical environment, right? And it gets easily confused.
It does. It frequently mixes up basic physical sensations with complex social traits.
This is the concept of embodied cognition. The idea that human beings understand abstract social concepts by building them on top of physical experiences we had as infants.
Right.
But I mean, I have to push back on some of these studies because they sound a bit like parlor tricks.
You mean like the famous coffee study?
Yes. Let's look at the methodology.
Yeah.
If you give someone a hot cup of coffee to hold for just a few seconds before they're introduced to a stranger, they will rate that stranger as having a warmer, more generous personality. But if you give them an iced coffee to hold, they will judge the exact same stranger as being colder and more aloof.
That's what the data showed.
I mean, I have a hard time buying that a major social judgment, like how I assess another human being's character, comes down to the beverage a barista hands me. It just feels reductive. How reproducible is that, really?
Well, it's a completely valid skepticism, especially given the replication crisis in psychology.
Right.
Some specific priming studies have been tough to replicate perfectly. However, the foundational neurobiology of embodied cognition holds up incredibly well.
Okay, how so?
Brain imaging shows that the insular cortex is heavily involved in processing both physical temperature and feelings of social connection or rejection.
Oh, interesting. So they share the same neural real estate.
Exactly. When your physical hands feel warm, it activates the network associated with interpersonal warmth.
So my adult brain is still using the primal physical metaphors of a toddler to navigate a networking event.
Pretty much. Think about your inner child. When we are infants, we learn about the world entirely through physical touch.
Right.
Physical warmth meant safety, nourishment, and love from a caregiver. Physical cold meant isolation and danger. The adult subconscious still relies on that underlying scaffolding.
And that scaffolding shows up in the negotiation studies, too.
Yes, the chair study.
Yeah, participants who were seated in hard, rigid wooden chairs took a much harder line in negotiations. They were significantly less willing to compromise than people sitting in soft, cushioned chairs.
Right. The physical rigidity of the furniture directly translated into psychological rigidity.
And we see it in moral judgments with the Macbeth effect, too.
Oh, that's a fascinating one.
If you ask people to recall a time they did something highly unethical, like a guilt-inducing social act, they suddenly report a strong urge to wash their hands.
Which makes sense metaphorically, right? We say we want to wash our hands of a situation, or we feel dirty after doing something wrong.
Right, but the physical act actually changes the psychology, doesn't it?
That's the crazy part. If researchers actually allow those participants to wash their hands, the physical act of scrubbing literally removes their psychological guilt.
Just by washing away actual dirt.
Yeah. Because evolutionarily, pathogens and disease were our biggest threats, so our brains linked bad with dirty. By washing their hands, their subconscious feels morally cleansed.
Wow.
And the bizarre side effect is that they are suddenly less likely to volunteer to help someone afterward because they feel their conscience is already clean. They don't need to do a good deed to balance the scales.
Honestly, this borders on the absurd.
I know.
If our social lives, our moral compass, and our judgments are at the mercy of hidden biases, invisible mirroring, and literally the temperature of our lattes,
Yeah.
how do we regain control of the vehicle? How do we put the conscious CEO back in charge?
You have to use your conscious mind to actively hack the system. And paradoxically, one of the best ways to change the subconscious is to use the body. Yeah. In psychology and fields like neuro-linguistic programming, there's a principle that you can force a physical change to create a psychological one. It's basically embodied cognition in reverse.
So working from the outside in.
Yes. The military has utilized this for centuries. When soldiers are exhausted on a march, the drill sergeant demands they shout, "Not tired."
Right.
That physical act of projecting their voices, of adopting a strong, upright posture, sends reverse signals to the brain. It actually alters their body chemistry and suppresses the neurological feeling of fatigue.
That's amazing.
Or, similarly, forcing a smile or a laugh out loud when you are alone in your car can send a biological signal to your subconscious that you are safe and happy, which helps banish feelings of anxiety.
So it's the ultimate fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
I know the 21-day rule gets thrown around a lot in self-help circles, sometimes inaccurately, but the underlying neuroscience here is really about neuroplasticity, isn't it?
It is. The exact number of days varies wildly depending on the person and the habit, but the mechanism is Hebbian learning.
Which means?
Neurons that fire together wire together. If you consciously force a behavior, like actively pausing to question a snap judgment or forcing an upright posture, it requires a massive amount of System 2 effort at first.
It feels unnatural.
Very. But if you repeat it consistently, you carve a new neural pathway. What starts as a grueling conscious effort eventually sinks down into the massive underwater part of the iceberg. It becomes your new automatic subconscious habit.
But there is a massive blind spot here, right? Because my conscious mind is so good at acting as a PR department, like you said, inventing stories to justify my automatic behaviors, I am probably a terrible judge of my own subconscious biases.
You are. We all are. The psychologist Timothy Wilson explores this deeply in his work on self-knowledge. He argues that if you truly want to know what's going on in your subconscious, introspection is often a dead end.
Really? So what do you do?
You should ask your friends.
Oh, because they don't hear the PR department.
Exactly. Outside observers, your friends, your family, or even strangers, They don't have access to the elaborate rationalizations playing inside your head. They just observe your actions.
Right, they just see what you actually do.
Yes. They see the physical microexpressions you aren't aware of. They notice when you consistently pull away from certain types of people or situations.
So it's about external feedback.
If you want to know what your autopilot is really up to, you have to listen to the feedback of the people around you and believe them at least as much as you believe your own internal narrator.
Man, this has been a profound journey into the architecture of our own minds.
Ogre.
To summarize what we've unpacked today for you listening, the conscious part of us is just a tiny, energy-draining fraction of the whole. To keep us alive and functioning, our subconscious operates as a blazing fast autopilot.
It does.
But that same system silently dictates our snap judgments using hidden stereotypes. It forces us to physically mirror strangers to fit in, and it constantly confuses physical sensations, like hot coffee or hard chairs, with complex human personalities.
It is a breathtakingly efficient system, but it is deeply flawed when applied to modern social complexities. Once you understand the mechanics of how it hijacks your behavior, you can finally start to manage it.
And we always want to leave you with something to chew on, a way to apply this deep dive to your own life. So here's a final thought for you to mull over as you step back into the world.
The next time you feel an instant, inexplicable connection or an instant, strong dislike toward a stranger, force your system to pause for a second. Ask yourself, is this actually you making an informed, conscious judgment? Or is it just your inner child, a hidden stereotype, or maybe just the temperature of the room doing the talking?
It definitely makes you rethink ordering that iced coffee before a job interview. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
Catch you next time.